This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Looks like we are heading towards disaster. Republicans blocked the bill to avert a government shutdown and raise the debt ceiling, which means that if nothing is done in 2 days, we will have a government shutdown. I'll play a video clip from Mitch McConnell, the reasons why he blocked the bill. Also play a video clip from Chuck Schumer. Ron Wyden, Senate Democrat, has introduced new unemployment legislation to provide at least 26 weeks of unemployment benefits that might be in that $3.5 trillion package. When it comes to the $3.5 trillion package vote, Nancy Pelosi has not mentioned any date and has pushed the vote for the Part 1 infrastructure on Thursday. Also, I'll play a video clip from one Democrat about that, and also play a video clip from Bernie Sanders, and I'll give you some other important updates along the way. Hope you're having a terrific Tuesday. If you appreciate these fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below. So, New Jersey offers unemployed $500 to get a job under new program. So this is from the governor of New Jersey, saying that workers hired through the incentive program would receive an extra $500 for returning to work, and businesses with 100 or fewer employees would also be eligible up to $10,000 in wage subsidies to hire and train new workers. The position they fill would need to pay at least $15 an hour. So this could set precedent. This program is called the Return and Earn program. So other states may offer this type of thing, especially dealing with the labor shortage. Let me know your thoughts. Is this a good idea, bad idea? Should people just go back to work without incentive? What about the people who are already working? Let me know your thoughts on all of that down in the comments below. Speaking of unemployment, key Senate Democrat unveils plan to make states provide at least 26 weeks of unemployment benefits. So what's going on here is Ron Wyden is introducing a bill to mandate states to provide at least 26 weeks of benefits. This system, what he said is this system has been intentionally broken to minimize the number of jobless workers who can access it. The Oregon Democrat wants to include the measure in a $3.5 trillion spending plan. So this may go into that $3.5 trillion spending plan. It may not. So far, that plan is still under negotiation. I'll talk more about that later on in the video, though. Let's talk about the big news here. So government shutdown may be on the way as Senate GOP blocks bill that would fund government and suspend debt limit as time runs short to avoid shutdown and default. So there was a big vote last night. As predicted, Republicans blocked it. So Senate Republicans blocked a House-passed bill that would prevent a government shutdown and a potential default on U.S. debt. Lawmakers have to pass an appropriations bill by Thursday to avoid a shutdown and need to suspend or increase debt limits sometime in the next few weeks to prevent a default. Democrats may be forced to suspend the debt limit on their own, potentially as part of their up to $3.5 trillion budget reconciliation bill. So the way the votes turned out, it was a 48-50 vote with all Republicans opposing it. What this means is that basically if nothing is done, a government shutdown is going to happen, and we're going to have the debt ceiling or the debt default in the U.S. Here's Mitch McConnell talking more about the reasons why he blocked it.
For more than 2 months, since July, Republicans have been clear about where we stand. We're willing to work together to keep the government open. We're not willing to help Democrats raise the debt ceiling while they write a reckless taxing and spending spree of historic proportions behind closed doors. Democrats control the entire government, the Senate, the House, the White House. They intend to sideline Republicans and go it alone to slam American families with historic tax hikes and borrowing. So they will need to raise the debt limit on a partisan basis as well. And they've known that for 2 months now. 2 months.
What are your thoughts on what Mitch McConnell said? I think he brought up one good point, that the Democrats had 10 weeks to come up with some solution to fund the government, but waited literally until the last second. This vote is only 2 days, 3 days before the government will shut down. They could have dealt with this a long time ago, so I think there is a good point there, but let me know your thoughts on what Mitch McConnell said. Here is Chuck Schumer talking more about that.
America doesn't pay its debts. Our country is staring down the barrel of 2 totally Republican-manufactured disasters, a government shutdown and a first-ever default on the national debt. The impacts of both would gravely harm every single American in this country. Republicans would let the country default for the first time in history. A few moments ago, the Senate had an opportunity to begin solving these problems right away. Democrats did their part and voted yes. But Senate Republicans, meanwhile, voted to drive our country straight towards a government shutdown and the first default in our country's history. Let me be clear. What the Republicans in the Senate did tonight is not normal. This isn't your typical Washington fracas, and it shouldn't be treated as such. It has far more severe consequences than the typical political catfight. Republicans know the consequences of their obstruction. They know a default would likely create a recession. They know that middle-class families will suffer immensely. They've heard the same warnings that we have. And by many calculations, the Republican default will raise the deficit by more than the American Rescue Plan. And yet, Republicans still obstructed tonight. It's one of the most reckless, one of the most irresponsible votes I have seen taken place in the Senate, and it should send a signal to every family, small business, market watcher about who in this chamber is in favor of endangering the economic stability of our country and who isn't.
What are your thoughts on what Chuck Schumer said? He brings up some good points too. This is the moment that Democrats and Republicans have to work together to help the government, to help the U.S. civilians, and stop playing a childish playground game of tit for tat, trying to outdo one or the other. Both Democrats and Republicans are in the wrong of this, at least at that Senate level. Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. Moving on, let's talk about infrastructure and that $3.5 trillion package. So Nancy Pelosi delays infrastructure vote after progressive pressure. So there was supposed to be a vote yesterday, and I think after pressure from Pramila Jayapal, who is the Progressive Caucus leader, looks like Nancy Pelosi has now moved the vote until Thursday. So Pelosi steers Democrats toward infrastructure vote without spending bill in tow, meaning that she has scheduled the vote on Thursday for the infrastructure vote, but no mention of that $3.5 trillion package. What she said yesterday is, it all changed, so our approach had to change. We had to accommodate the changes that were being necessitated, and we cannot be ready to say, until the Senate passed the bill, we can't do infrastructure. We are not going to pass a bill that won't pass the Senate, and that's why we have to come up with a number, but we're not there yet. Basically saying that that $3.5 trillion package is not fully set yet. She was saying that the number's probably going to be lower, which means things are still being added, things are being taken out. That looks like it's going to be delayed for a while. Next up is a video clip from Ro Khanna getting a little pushback of this $3.5 trillion package. Take a listen to this.
Well, another part of this viewing spectacle has been growing speculation that ultimately something will happen on the social spending side, but it won't be $3.5 trillion. Is there a number below there where you say you draw the line? You know, would you compromise at 3, 2.5, 1.5? I mean, where do you say, no, absolutely, we can't go any lower?
Well, I don't want to give you a red line. I'll say we're open to negotiation. I do want to put the number in context. Over the next 10 years, the U.S. economy is going to have about $300 trillion in GDP growth. It's going to have $7.5 trillion in defense. So when we're talking about $3.5 trillion, it's 1% of projected GDP for productive investments. But of course, we're open to negotiation. There is not a red line at $3.5 trillion. We need a counteroffer for those who are opposed to the $3.5 trillion, which is Biden's agenda.
Congressman, this bill for me is not much about economics as it is about what kind of country we want to be. This feels more like one of those European nations, a big welfare state, big government, cradle-to-grave support. But it kind of goes against, in my mind, how we got to this place, how we became the greatest nation in the world. Are you concerned with the 11 million jobs out there, we're going to actually encourage people or make it easier for them not to work? Is that really the solution you're looking for?
Charles, I respectfully disagree. Look, I represent Silicon Valley. No place in America has produced more wealth, $11 trillion near my district in market cap, because of entrepreneurship, because of risk-taking. That's what differentiates us from Europe. But I'll tell you what every entrepreneur in Silicon Valley has. They have a preschool education, they have a college education, they have health care, and all this bill is saying is we want that same opportunity for every American so they can go start businesses, so they can take risks. I actually think this will unleash our productive capability.
By taxing, some progressives are talking about taxing increases in stock portfolios. Not even realize if your portfolio went up in a given year, tax it. You're going to put up barriers that will stop entrepreneurship. I'm not sure how this will help entrepreneurship or even help investments in general. When you're taxing it every single tick to the upside, you're taking money away, even when people don't cash in.
But Charles, look, I represent Silicon Valley, a lot of entrepreneurship. They're behind this bill. It doesn't tax unrealized capital gains. That's not in the bill. Here's what it does. It moves the top rate from 37% to 39%. I think people making over $50 million a year or even over $1 million a year can afford to pay 2% more in income tax. It taxes corporations at 25%.
Congressman, I got to go. I love these conversations with you. There's a big difference between $1 million a year and $50 million a year. Take it from me. I appreciate it.
What are your thoughts on what Ro Khanna had to say about that $3.5 trillion package? So next up, this is one of the most recent quotes or tweets from Bernie Sanders saying, if we were to judge a nation simply by how many millionaires and billionaires it's got, America would be number one, no question. But a great nation is judged by how well it treats its weakest and most vulnerable. We must fight to become a nation of compassion and solidarity. Here's the latest video clip from Bernie Sanders about that.
I wanted to ask, what do you feel are the kind of few biggest takeaways for our transatlantic movement in terms of both our successes and failures over the past 5 years?
Well, right now, as we are fighting to pass this transformative piece of legislation, Hope, we are taking on the entire ruling class of the United States of America. So what I hope the American people are learning, and by the way, we didn't, John raised the issue of corporate media, I think media in general, and that's an issue we have got to deal with. Trump called the mainstream media in the United States fake news. That's wrong. It's not fake news. It's just that for a variety of reasons, they don't deal with the real issues impacting working people. That's at least my experience in the United States. So the failure, it's not even a failure. We are now taking on everybody. We're taking on the billionaire class. They don't want to pay more in taxes. We're taking on the healthcare industry. They don't want to expand public health. We're taking on the fossil fuel industry because they would prefer to destroy the planet and continue to make money. We're taking on the drug companies that charge us in the United States the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs, far higher, by the way, than you pay. So we're taking them all on. We are coming forward with a people's agenda that is very, very popular, and the ruling class says, we cannot allow this to happen. If government begins to work for working people, they're going to get the crazy idea that democracy is a good thing, that it will work for them. Can't allow that to happen. They are spending tens of millions of dollars demonizing me and other people who are fighting for this change. That's the bad news. The bad news is that these people are very religious. Their religion is greed. It is greed, and they are prepared to destroy the planet in order to make a few dollars more. We come together around a progressive agenda, put that agenda first and foremost, and ask the ruling class, why not? Why should not all young people have education and decent housing and all the other things that we need in society? Put them on the defensive. So, but thank you very much, Hope, for that question.
And that is all the stimulus news I have for you today. To hopefully brighten your day a bit, here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Belle. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you something. If you can't find a way to do something, then then do something that you really want to do that you haven't done. Hi, guys. If you can't make the first one happen. So that's all I wanted to say. Say bye. Bye.
Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all of your support. And I announced the winners for the $200 in yesterday's video. So far, 2 people claimed it. There's still 2 more people. Where is it? It is Amber Sloan and Holly Wilson. So those are the 2 winners that haven't yet claimed the $200. I'm going to do another one of those cash giveaways in probably 2 weeks from now. So stay tuned for that. If you want to check out any of my other videos, you could click up here or down here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Be safe. Thank you for watching.